Welcome to this project where we build a Google clone with Next.js 14 and Tailwind CSS. With the release of Next.js 14, website creation has become incredibly optimized and easy. In this course, we'll walk you through the process step by step. We'll start by understanding how to organize the folder and file structure of our Next.js 14 project. Then, we'll jump right into building a Google clone from scratch, utilizing the power of the Google Search API. Just imagine creating your very own search engine similar to Google.com. But that's not all. We'll enhance our project with modern design elements using Tailwind CSS, ensuring our website looks professional. Plus, we'll learn how to add loading effects seamlessly with modern skeleton with Next.js 14 and handle errors efficiently using its error file. As we progress, we'll tackle more advanced concepts like implementing pagination and creating different components tailored to our needs, whether server-side or client-side. We'll even develop separate search result pages for web and images, each with its own unique design using Tailwind CSS. And the best part, we'll deploy our website for free using the Vercel platform, making our project accessible to the world so you can put it in your portfolio. So, if you're ready to start on this journey with me, let's begin by exploring the folder and file structure of the Next.js 14 app directory. You can find the project's code and final version in the GitHub repository linked in the description below. Throughout the course, I will guide you on how to build this project using freely available resources. If you're seeking another excellent learning tool, allow me to recommend Brilliant, the sponsor of this video. Brilliant offers an engaging and interactive way to grasp concepts in math, data science, or computer science. They present a variety of lessons across different subjects, organized into courses that you can navigate at your own pace. What sets Brilliant apart is its personalized content, adapting to your proficiency level. Personally, I've found their computer science courses particularly beneficial for enhancing my understanding of algorithms and data structures. They also offer a really useful course called Thinking and Code, which teaches coding principles in a practical, real-life way. Whether you're a complete beginner or a pro working on complex projects, Brilliant is a valuable resource for comprehending and tackling coding challenges. Upon signing up, you can take a brief quiz to personalize the content to your interests and skill level. Whether you're just starting out or ready to write code for large projects, Brilliant supports you on your learning journey. If you are interested, visit brilliant.org/Sahand for a 30-day free trial. As a bonus, the first 200 people using the link in the video description will also receive a 20% discount on the Brilliant annual premium subscription. A special thanks to Brilliant for sponsoring this video. Now, let's return to our project.
All right, so this is the final version. We have google.100jsprojects.com. You can come and visit and check the final version. So what we have here, inside the homepage, we have a header that is unique only for the homepage, and then we have a main body, which is a search box, and then we have a footer. This footer is going to be common in all pages of the website. So the way I want to explain you here, in Next.js app directory, the most important thing in the project is the structure of folders and files. So in order to understand how to work with Next.js, we need to understand the folder and the structures. So I want to show you inside this eraser.io diagram. I want to create a diagram here. Based on this diagram, I want to explain how the folders and files structure works inside the Next.js app directory. And based on that, we can create our project. So I'm going to share this eraser with you. I'm going to share it, and you can find it in the description of the video. So you can see this diagram. Also, you can play with that and use it for your future projects. So when we start the project, so when we started here, in the starting point, so let me increase the size of this. So we have a starting point. After that, we're going to have, in order to completely have the starting template, we're going to use a utility introduced by Next.js by using npx create next app at latest. So if you use this one, you're going to have a starting template. So this is going to create us a folder, so which is going to be the root folder of our project. So we're going to have a folder here. So let's add a folder. So this folder is going to be the root folder. So after this create next app, we're going to have our root folder. Let's make this one a figure. Okay, so we have a root folder here. So this is the root folder. It can be any name with that. You're going to choose the name when you're installing it. Inside this root folder, based on our choice, we're going to have an extra folder like src. So we're going to choose it when we are creating the app. So we're going to have one folder called src, which is the main folder in Next.js. And then we're going to have another folder here called public. Inside this folder, the public folder, we're going to have some files. And also inside the root, in addition to src and public folder, we're going to have some files there. So if we add some file here, so we're going to have some files. The files consist of a config file, some config files for Next.js, and also if you install Tailwind CSS, we're going to have some files. And also we have package.json, some JSON files here. So we have src folder, public folder, and these JSON files. Okay, so let's create a figure here. So the root folder is going to consist of this one. So this is going to be the root folder. So we're going to have some files for the public folder. These files are going to be publicly available for the users. So the files like images and etc. goes here. This folder is going to give us this file. So this is going to be public folder. And then this is going to be the files like images. So this public folder we're going to use, for example, to add some files like this kind of, as you can see here, we have a favicon. We can use the favicon inside the public folder. So the src is going to have our app directory. So this is the main app directory. Main app folder comes here inside the src. So we're going to have an app directory here. And also we're going to have our components. So this one is going to be another folder called components. So this is going to be the src folder. So let's connect this one to here. So what else? What we have here inside the app directory, this is the way that Next.js works for our pages and etc. So if you want to have the layout, if you want to have a loading effect, error, and your pages, you're going to put it inside the app. And if you have a component, for example, in the final version, we have a header component, we have a footer component, we're going to add it inside this component, and then we're going to add it based on our needs inside the files of app directory. For example, this header is only available inside the homepage. So we're going to have a file, like for example, here we're going to have a file called, let's copy, or let's add a file here. This is a single file. So this file is going to be, for example, home header.jsx. So this file is going to be inside the layout of the home page. And this is going to be inside the component. And also we're going to have some other files like footer. So the footer is going to be available in all pages. And also we're going to have another header, which is going to be for the final, for the other pages. For example, if I search here the word hello, we're going to be redirected to another page, which is /search web. And in this page, we're going to have a different header. So this header is going to be common in all pages. For example, search web and also search image. both of them, they have the same header like this. So we're going to have another component, but this is going to be the search page header. All of them is going to be inside this component. So this is the components folder, and everything is going to be inside this. So this is going to be here. So inside the app directory, we're going to have some files, and also if you want to add a new page, we're going to have some folders. So here we're going to have some file. For example, here we're going to have a global.css. So this file is going to consist of our styling, and if you are using Tailwind CSS, we need to add the base styling to this file. So this is going to be inside the app directory, and also we're going to have the page.jsx, which is going to be the home page. So the home page is going to be page.jsx inside the app. So if you cannot say home.jsx, the standard is using the word page. So if you use the word page inside the app directory, you're going to have a home page. Whatever inside is this, we're going to have the home page. And also we're going to have a main layout for our website. For example, the header and etc. using the layout.jsx. So if you pay attention here, you can see that this footer is common in all pages. So the footer is going to be inside this layout. So we're going to create the component here inside this, and then import this footer inside this layout. So we're going to have this footer in all pages. Then if you want to have other pages, for example, here we have the page search. So you just need to add a folder here. So let's add a folder. So this folder is going to come here, and the name of the folder is very important. If you want to have /search, you have to name the folder search. Let's decrease the size of this. So we're going to have a search, and all of them is going to be inside this app directory. So this is the app folder. So everything comes here. So from this app directory, we're going to have this figure. So as I mentioned before, so this page.jsx is for the home page. So we're going to have a page. So we're going to have something, let's add some website here or browser. So this browser is going to be the home page. What I mean by home page is /. So this is going to be created using this page.jsx. So this is going to be connected to this one. Okay. So page.jsx is going to be for the home page. And if you want to create this search /search, we need to create a file inside this search. So, but we don't have only search, we're going to have search /image or search /web, depending on our search result. So here inside this folder, we're going to have another folder. So this folder is going to be image. And then for the web, we're going to have another folder called web. And also we have some files here as well. For example, if you want to see the error related to this page, we need to create a file called error.jsx. So we're going to have error.jsx for this one, which is going to cover the error happening inside both /image and /web. And also we're going to have a layout for this one as well. As I mentioned before, the header for the /search /web and /search /image is this header. So the component that we have created here, search header, is going to be added in a different layout. If we add it to this layout, this is going to be inside the home page as well. But we don't want it in the home page, we want it in the search page. So we're going to have another layout inside the search folder, which is going to be common for image and web. So these things, so this is going to be search folder, and then, so this is going to be related. This is going to be for the search page, and which is /search. So in order to create the /search, we need to create another folder called search inside the app directory, and which is going to be here. So now this one is related to this page. But in order to have /search/image, we need to create some files inside the image. And also, if you want to have it for the web, we're going to have some files here. So the files we're going to have is one is the page.jsx. So we have a page.jsx for the image, and we're going to have another page.jsx for the web. So in this case, we're going to have two pages, one for the web, one for the image. And also we want to have some loading effect. If you look at this website, you can see the loading effect for the web and image is different. So image has different loading effect, and here the loading effect is different. So in order to have a different loading effect, we're going to have two different files. So let me just copy this. So this is going to be loading.jsx. So we're going to have the same things for the web. So this is going to be for the web folder, and this is going to be for the image folder. So let's connect this to here, and then this one to here. Okay. So, and then so for having the website, for having this URL, so this is going to be related to the image. So this is going to be image search page. So the address is going to be /search/image. And then we're going to have another one for the web. So /search/web. So we're going to create this one using this file. And we're going to create this one using this file. So these two pages are going to have a different loading effect, which is going to be created by their loading.jsx file. But both of them, they have the same error. So we're going to use this error.jsx for both pages. So this is the folder structure we are going to use. So we're going to have a spinner or some skeleton. So we're going to have some loading effect here, loading. So this loading effect, for example, what we can say is to just say a skeleton for image page. Let's make it bigger. So this is going to be created using this loading.jsx. And then we're going to have similar one inside this file, but the skeleton is going to be different. So we're going to have it for the web page. So this is going to be related to this file. So I just want to show it again. So for example, for the error, for example, if I write down some word that doesn't exist, we can see after the loading, we can get an error. So this error is common for the all and the images. So that's why we have created only one file, error.jsx, related to the both pages. But for the loading, as you can see, the loading is different for both pages. So we're going to have two files, one inside the image folder and one inside the web folder. And you could see that we had a components folder. We're going to have different components. It's not only these components. We're going to have different components, like these things inside the footer also has components. But the main components are the footer.jsx home header and the search header. Footer is going to be inside the main layout, inside the app directory, because we want to see it in all pages. But the home header is going to be inside the only home page, this layout. So this is going to be inside this page.jsx because we want to only see it in the home page. If you want to see everything, something in all pages, we're going to add it to the layout.jsx. But if you want to see something in it, for example, we want to see this search header in this page and like image and web page. So we're going to add it to this layout. So this is going to, so the search header is going to be in this layout and the footer is going to be inside this layout. So if you have the an overview for this, you can see that we're going to create the project using this utility. We're going to have a root folder with two folders, src and public. And then we're going to have an app directory that is going to create all the pages. And also we're going to have our component inside this folder. So based on the different layouts we need, different error or different loading effect, we're going to put it in different places. All right, that's it for the folder and files structure inside Next.js app directory. So in the following sections, we're going to start with the installation, and then I'm going to explain you in the projects how this structure works. So see you in the next sections. All right, welcome back. In this section, we're going to install Next.js along with Tailwind CSS, and we're going to create our first template. So if I search on Google Next.js, and we go to nextjs.org, and here we click on Get Started, and we go to Installation tab. First thing first, you need to have the Node.js with this version and above. So if you don't have it, you just search Node.js on Google and install the latest version. Then we want to install Next.js using these utilities. So I'm going to copy this one. So what we want to do, we want to open the Visual Studio Code. Let's create a new, open a new folder. So I want to create this project in my desktop and inside a folder called, not any folder, specific folder. I just want to make it inside the desktop. So I'm going to open the desktop. So once we open your desired folder, and then we want to open the terminal, you can just open the terminal by going to view and click on terminal or use Ctrl backtick. Let's clear this. We just use clear. And here we're going to paste that npx create next app latest. So this is going to install the latest version for us. First, they're going to ask us for the name of the folder that we want the projects to be in. I just want to call this one Google-Next. So for the choices here, we're going to have different prompts we can choose. The first one is, do you want to use TypeScript? I just want to choose no. S-links, we want to use it. So Tailwind CSS, we just say yes. And src directory is going to be an extra directory for your sources. So we just say yes. Do you want app router? So app router is the newest way to create pages in Next.js. So we're going to use that. So we just say yes. So would you like to customize the default import? So for import, we want to use @/*. You can change it if you want, but I just say no. So you can just accept this alias. Alias is kind of a short way to import your files without adding the address. We just say and you go to the root of the address. So just say no. So this is going to install the dependencies like React, DOM, and Next, and some dev dependencies just we need to have, for example, auto prefixer and post CSS for Tailwind CSS, and etc. All right, the installation part is completed now. So as you can see now, we have a new folder here. So the folder is called Google Next, as you can see from here. Let me open this actually. Open this folder. So we just need to open folder, and we just go to desktop and choose this file. So if you open it now, we can see all the files here. So we have a public folder that is going to be used for public assets like images and etc. Then we have the src folder with the app directory. So all the files goes here. So this is the root and the home page, which is called page.js. So this page is used for having the home page. And we have a layout that is going to be the layout of the website. So we're going to use this file to add our header and etc. So the components that we want to use in different places, we want to put inside this layout.js. Then we have globals.css, which is using for applying the CSS codes and also the Tailwind CSS base code. So in order to see this file inside the browser, and we can just open the terminal again. Make sure you're inside this Google-Next if you have the same name. Then you just use npm run dev to run the application. Then, as you can see, our file is inside the localhost 3000. We can just run this one by keeping the command or control in Windows and click on it. So this is going to open our application. As you can see, this is designed by Next.js template, And if you want to change this home page, we can just edit the page.jsx inside the app directory inside the src. So we can just bring this one to the right side and our Visual Studio Code to the left side. And also we can just go to the page.js. And here, I just want to delete everything and then replace it with a React functional component using RFC snippet. I just want to change the name of this function to home. So if you don't see that RFC snippet, you need to install an extension. If you go to View and go to Extensions, so this is the extension you need to install: ES7 React Redux React Native Snippets. So the others one that is necessary is Prettier to format your code, and Tailwind CSS Intelligent, which is going to suggest you some Tailwind CSS codes. For example, here, if I add a class name and let's just say text, and for example, I choose red, as you can see, Tailwind, this extension is suggesting me all these colors. So if I choose, for example, 500, you should see that the color is red here. Then we have auto name tag. For example, if I want to change this h1 to dev to h1, when I change the opening tag, the closing tag is automatically changed. So, and then I'm going to use GitHub Copilot for getting code suggestion, but this is not a free extension. You need to pay for that. So we don't need the other ones. That's it. So now we have this page. As you can see, we have some weird effect in the screen. In order to remove that, you just need to go to our global.css. We can just delete all these code that are added by Next.js. So now we have a clean screen here. Also, inside the layout.js, as you can see, we have kind of metadata we can add. For example, the title, description. For example, for the title, I can just change it to Google clone. And then description, you can just say an open source or something. Whatever you can just write down here. You get this suggestion. So now you can see the title is Google clone. And also if we inspect the page, we can see that we have this metadata tag. Here, the description is here as well. So the good things about the Next.js is the page is going to be rendered before the user can see it. So Google is going to index your page based on this information and get this title and description, which is the opposite of React.js. React.js doesn't send anything to the user. They're going to build the page inside the user client. So the Google is not going to see anything in React.js app. So that's why the Next.js apps are better for SEO. So the next things we need to do is to add a GitHub repository for our application. So if you search for GitHub and we go to github.com, let's see. And here we click on this, the first link. You just need to sign in with your account. It's totally free. And after that, you just click on new repository. You just name your repository. For example, I just call it Google-Next. And if it's available, you're good to go. And also you can just add a description for that. You can just write down Google clone using Next.js and Tailwind CSS. So we can just keep it public, but if you don't want other people to see your code, you just keep it private. And after that, we just click on create repository. So as you can see from the suggestion, we need to initialize a GitHub repo for our application, but a create React app usually creates it for us. So we just need to add the remote, which is the address for our GitHub repository. We can just copy this and then we just go to our application. I just want to open a new terminal. Make sure you're inside this Google Next folder and paste this code. As you can see, it shows that not a Git repository is here. So I'm going to initialize one. So if you don't see this one, that's okay for you. If you already have, you don't need to do anything. So I just say get init. And then I want to add everything. Just say get add dot. And then I create a message for that one as well. I just say git commit -m. And the message I want to add is install Next.js and Tailwind CSS and create the first template. Okay, now we can just add this remote if it's not already added. And then we can just create a branch for that. And finally, we're going to push it to the internet or upload it to that GitHub repository. So if we now come back to our app here inside the GitHub repository and refresh the page, we can see that all the files are uploaded here. And we have one commit, which is install Next.js and Tailwind CSS and create the first template. So if you want to see the changes in your code, or if you want to compare your code with my code, just come to this address. And then I also provide this address in the description. So you can just come here and compare your code with mine. Okay. So that was it for actually installing Next.js and creating our first template. In the next section, we're going to start working on the header section of the homepage. If you look at the homepage, you can see we have a header here at the top that shows a button and these icons. So see you in the next section. All right, in the last section, we have completed the installation of Next.js and Tailwind CSS. And also we have created our first template. So we just now have home in the home page. In this section, we're going to work on the header section of the home page. As you can see, we just have two links and an icon plus a button. So let's go back to Visual Studio Code. We want to add this header inside the home page because the other pages has different header. So if you look at the final version, for example, if you go to the search page, here we can see that the header is different from the home page. So we want to create a unique header for the home page. So we don't need to add that header component inside the layout.js. Instead, we just put it inside the page.js, which is for the home page. So inside the Explorer, this page.js is the home page. We want to add the header component here. Let's first create the component. So inside the src folder, I want to create another folder. I just call it components. And inside this folder, I want to create a new file called home header.jsx. We can use RFC to create a React functional component, and we need to add this one inside the home page. And what I want to do here, I want to add it just above that. So actually, let's clear this one. I just use an empty fragment, and then here I can add my home page. The header component. So it was home header, which is coming from components/home header. Let's complete this. So if you check my website here now, I refresh the page. As you can see now, we get home header here. So let's bring this one to the right side so we can see the changes. So we can go now to header, home header, and complete our header. So instead of a div, I want to add a header tag. So header tag is going to tell the Google when you're indexing your website, that is the header of our website. So this is going to be good for SEO. So make sure you always have a meaningful tag for your HTML. So inside this header, we're going to have a div, and inside this div, we're going to have first two links and then an icon and a button. So we can use the link tag from Next.js, next/link, to go to different pages. So as an example here, I just want to go to HTTPS, for example, mail.google.com. So for the closing tag, inside this link tag, we just want to say Gmail. So you can see here now, and if you click on this link, we're going to go to the Gmail. So, and then I want to just style this one as well. So let's add a class name here. When we hover over it, I want to just add an underline. So you can see that. So we want to have another link tag for images, which is going to go to image.google.com. After the link tag, we're going to have this icon. We're going to use a package called React Icons to get the icons. That's a very complete package that has most of the icons we need. So here inside the terminal, I'm going to clear the terminal, and I'm going to install a package for adding the icons. So here we're going to just write down npm install react-icon. And then the icon I want to use here is called TB grid dots. So we just say TB grid dots. Let's close this. And we need to import this one at the top. So we're going to import TB grid dots from React icons /TB. So I already know the icon I want, but if you are not sure which icon you want to add, you just search React icons and then just go to this page, reacticons.github.io, and search the icons you want. For example, for grid, you can search grid and then choose whatever you want. So if you want to just copy it, you just click on it, and then you can just get the code, import this, for example, icon from this one, and then you can use it like this. So it is totally free, and you can just get whatever icon you want. So now we have the icon here. After the icon, I want to have that button. So we're going to have a button saying sign in. So let's now style our project. So what I want to do here inside the header, let's add a class name. We want to make it flex to bring everything next to each other. So inside the header, we want to bring everything to the end. So what I want to do here, we just say justify end. We push everything to the end. I want to add a padding of 5, and let's make the text to be as small. For the div that is covering everything here, let's add a flex, and then we want to add a space between them. So we just say space x4, and we can use item center to align them vertically. So the next things we want to style is this icon. So here, let's make the background to be transparent. Then we're gonna hover, when we hover over it, we want to change the background color to gray 200. Then let's make it rounded full. I want to make the size to be 4XL, and then let's add a padding of 2. So now when we hover over it, we see a different background color. Let's style this button real quick. So we want to have a background color of blue 500. Let's make the text to be white. We have a padding of 6, padding in the y-axis of 2. Let's make the font to be medium. Let's make it rounded medium. When we hover over it, I want to change its brightness to 105%. And when we hover over it, I want to have a shadow with a medium size. And we want to add a transition for the shadow. So when we hover over it, we see a shadow and also more brightness. Okay, so that's it for the header section for the home page. Let's add this one to the GitHub. Let's add all the changes, and then we just create a message for that saying add home header component. And we can commit and push. So in the next section, we're going to work on the body section of the project. So see you in the next section. All right, in the last section, we have completed the header component of the home page. In this section, we're going to work on the body section of the home page. Similar to the one we did before for the header, we need to add this section to the page.js for the homepage. So let's bring this one to the right side. Let me close this so we can have more space here. We can see our code. And let's close the home header and we go to page.js. The things I need to mention is because we have interaction with these buttons and also this input. So these three things cannot be in the server side because as you know, Next.js is by default on the server. But if you have an interaction, if you have an onClick event listener to one point or onChange event listener, you need to change that component, that page to be client side. Otherwise, you're gonna get an error. So I'm gonna have a div here. So let's create a div. So inside the div, we're gonna have that image and the inputs related here. So first thing first, I wanna use the image component from Next.js to add this image. So for the image, you can just search it on Google, some Google icon, and then get it, or Google logo. So let me show you. So if you search on Google logo and then go to images, this is the one I want to use from the Wikipedia. You can just simply just right click and get the address of the image. And then we come back here and we can add it to our image tag. So inside the image tag, for the source, we're going to have that link that we have copied. And then the alternative is going to be Google logo. We're going to have a width of 300 and height of 100. Let's see what we get. So now we are getting an error. So let's refresh the page first. So as you can see, image is a void element tag and must neither have children or... So this image, it shouldn't be it has an opening and closing tag. It just have to be a closing tag. So I'm gonna delete this image. So here you just have to say image, and this one should be a self-closing, and then the source is going to be inside that. So this is the correct way to add the image tag from Next.js. Then we are getting another error because for Next.js image tag, we need to add actually the URL we are using and add it to the next.config.js file. So the URL we need to add is this URL, upload.wikipedia.org. I'm just gonna copy this URL and we need to go to next.config.js, and here inside the next config, we need to add that. So I'm gonna open this, and here we're gonna have an image. You just say images, and then the new way to add that one is to add something called remove patterns. And then inside the remove patterns, we're gonna have that address and etc. So we're gonna have an array, and inside the array, we're gonna have an object. So the protocol is going to be HTTPS. The host name is going to be upload.wikipedia.org. Then the path name, it can be everything. So we need to add 2 stars here. So we have added this one here. Let's add a comma. Boom, we missed the 1 comma here. And last one is here. Okay. And this is not the equal actually, this should be clone. Okay, so now it's fine. But as we are changing a config file inside our code, we need to restart the server. So here I'm gonna run the npm run dev again. So now if we refresh the page, we shouldn't get an error. So as you can see, now we are getting this image, which is going to be optimized for different sizes because we have used this image tag. After the image, we're gonna have that input and other buttons. But as I mentioned before, because we need to create these components client side, so we need to have a separate component for them. Otherwise, we need to make all the homepage client side, which is not good for SEO. So it's better to just, if you want to have some client side component, you just make it smaller and smaller so don't affect other places in your code. So after the image, we're gonna have a component. Let's create that component first. So inside the components, we're gonna have a new component called home search.jsx. Let's add a React functional component and add it here. So home search from components / homepage. So we should see the home search here. Before going forward, we just need to add some styling here. So I want to make it flex and flex column. So bring everything on top of each other. And for bringing them to the center, we can use item center. And let's add some margin at the top of 24. Okay, now it's nice. Let's keep continue and finish the home search component. So here, we don't need a div. Just an empty fragment is fine. And then here we're gonna have firstly a form. We don't need an action for that. So this form is going to have an input. So the input is going to be with the type of text. You should see the input here. Also before the input, I want to add an icon here. And also we're gonna have another icon after the input, which is the mic icon. So we need to import two icons at the top. The first one is going to be AI outline search, which is from React icons / AI. Then we're going to import another one, which is going to be BS fill mic fill. So let's add them here. So this is the first icon. And then we're going to have the next one. As you can see from here. Let's add some styling to the input first. So the input is going to be with the flex grow because we want to grow it all the way. We cannot see it yet because I want to add some, when we focus on it, also I want to remove the outline. We just say outline now. But instead of having this, so that focus actually is wrong. This should be like that. So now even if we focus, we don't see the input. But in order to see it, I just want to add something to the form. So for the form, let's make it flex with the width of full, margin top of 5. And then we want to bring it to the center using MX Auto. And we're going to set the maximum width to be 90% when we are in the mobile size. Let's add a border to it. Let's create the border color to be gray 200. Let's add a padding in the x-axis of 5 and the padding in the y-axis of 3. Let's make it rounded. So we just say rounded, can make it rounded full. So when we hover over it, also I want to make a shadow here, shadow of medium. And when we focus within, it means when we click inside any icon inside the form, we want to make a shadow as well, shadow medium. So, and then we want to have a transition on the shadow. And in the mobile size and above, SM and above, we want to have maximum width of X large. And also in the large screen and above, we want to have maximum width of 2XL. So when we hover over it or click on it, we see the shadow. And also the size is going to be different. Mobile, which is 90%. Then we have here, we have different size. After the styling the form, let's style the icons inside it. For the magnifier, let's make the text to be X large, the color to be 500. And we're going to have a margin on the right side of 3. And for the microphone, let's just make the text to be large. So after the form, we're going to have the two buttons, the Google search and the I'm feeling lucky. So we're going to have a div, and inside the div, we're going to have the first button, which is going to be that Google search. So let's style this button first. So we're going to have a background color of hash F 8 F9 FA. Let's make it rounded medium. And we have a text small, text gray, 800 for the color. So when we hover over it, I want to change its ring color to be gray 200. And when we focus on it, I just want to remove the outline. And when it is active, also I want to change the ring color to be gray 300. And also when we hover, let's make the shadow medium. We're going to set the width to be 36 and height to be 10. And let's add some transition to the shadow. You can see it like that. So we're going to copy this button and make the other one, which is going to say, I'm feeling lucky. So we just say, I am. Okay. So now we can just bring them like a style them here in this div. We just make it flex and flex column for the mobile size. So they're going to be on top of each other in the mobile size. And let's add a space in the y-axis of 2. In the small size and above, I want to remove that space. So space y0. And let's make it justify center. And in the small size and above, I want to make the flex to be row. So they're going to be on next to each other. And we add a margin at the top of 8. So now, as you can see, they are next to each other and they're on top of each other. Here, I just need to add some space. So in the SM and above, we're going to just add some space in the x-axis of 4. Okay. Now what we want to do is when we click on this Google search or when we press enter in this search bar, we want to, whatever we type here, we want to show it in the URL of the browser. So let me show you as an example here. For example, in the final version, it says search Sahan. If I press Google search, so this is going to change the URL to /Sahan web search terms Sahan. So, and then based on this URL, we're going to fetch data and show it here. So this is going to be later in our project, but first thing first, we just want to change the URL now. So first thing first, we need to get the information from this input. We want to know exactly what is inside the input. So when we press on the button or submit a form, we want to submit that information. So for doing that, we need to add a piece of state here that is going to be that input information. So we can just say input, and we're going to use a state React hook to save this piece of state. And also for changing this input, we can use this function. And the initial value is going to be an empty string. We need to import user state at the top. And as you can see, we are getting an error here. Let me show you why we are getting this. As I mentioned, all these components and pages inside Next.js are server-side. But as we are using use state, which is a hook, we are actually breaching a rule here because as I mentioned before, we cannot use any hook, any on-click event listener or etc. because this is the interaction inside the client side and that component cannot be in the server. In order to prevent that error, we can just add a term here, say use client. So when you do that one, we're going to fix that error. So as you can see, we are not getting any error. So let's get the information from the input and put it inside this input piece of state. For doing that, we just need to go to that input that we have, this input, and then we're going to add an on-change event listener. So, which is going to give us the event, and then we can change the input and set it to e.target that value, which is the value of that. So now, if I console log that input, And this is because this is client, we need to check the console log inside the client side, which is the browser. Let me inspect and go to console. Let's refresh the page. We're gonna fix this warning later, but for now, I just want to show you whatever we write here, we get here, because we are just printing that piece of state called input. So instead of just console logging it, I want to just, when I submit the form or I click on that button, I want to change the URL with this input, including this input. So for the form, I can just add an onSubmit event listener, which is going to call a function called handle submit. And we can create this function here. We just say const handle submit to get the event. First thing first, I want to prevent the default behavior of submitting a form, which is refreshing the page. We just say e.prevent default. And then the next step is to change the URL. So we want to push the router between different pages. So in order to do that, we want to use a hook called useRouter from next/navigation, not route. And then here, we want to push the page to /search. And as we are searching for web by default, we just say /web. Then we want to have that search term as a query. And this is going to be equal that input that we have. But if the input is empty, we want to prevent that. So we just say if the input is empty, return. And also if we only have a space, we want to do that one too. So we want to remove all the space by just trimming the input. Okay. So now if I write down something here, for example, hello, and I press enter, we are getting an error. Let's see the error. So router is not defined. So we have imported the use router, but actually we didn't initialize the router. So we just say const router equals to use route. Let's try again. We just say hello. As you can see now, we are redirected to /search web search term hello. So it's working fine. This is for pressing enter, but for clicking this button, I want to do the same thing. So in order to do that, we can just add an on-click event listener to the Google search button. This button, we can just add an on-click event listener, which is going to call that handle submit function. So now if I do, for example, nice, if I just click on Google search, so it's not working. Let's refresh the page. Okay, it's working. So when we click on it, we just see search term nice at the URL. The next things I want to do is create that I'm feeling lucky button. So when we click on it, as you can see, first we see a spinner, and then the page is going to be redirected to a random word. So we're gonna firstly create the random word and then redirect the user to this URL with this search term. So inside this I'm feeling lucky button, I want to call a function. First I add an on-click event listener. We just call a function called handle, or we just call it random search. Okay, so we're gonna create that function at the top. So random search. So let's complete this function. What I want to do, I want to create a request from an API, which is create some random word. Their API is called random word API. If you search, you can see this API, randomwordapi.heroku.com. So as you can see from here, we can just use this example to create a random word. If I just run this one, you can see each time gives us a different random word. So let me copy this URL and then we can just create a request for that. So we create a request. We just say response. This is going to fetch a data from that API that I have copied. And then after getting the request, if the request is successful, then I want to convert the response to JSON. Then I get the data. So the response is going to be that data, but the first one. In case we get more than one word, we're gonna just get the first one. So let me fix this one. I think I have some problem here. Okay. So we get the response. Then if there's no response, if some error happened, we want to return. Otherwise, we want to push the users to /search web search term that response. Let's test this one now. So if I click on I'm feeling lucky, let's see the network. We are making any requests or not. So let's click on I'm feeling lucky. Okay, now we have created a request. Okay, we are getting a wrong response. I didn't add the await here because this is asynchronous. So we need to add await and then actually convert this function to asynchronous as well. Okay, let's try again. Okay, we got the search term, as you can see. Okay, that's working. But as you can see, we are waiting some few seconds until we get the response. So I just want to make a spinner here. So when we click on it, we can wait for the response and then add that. Or instead of a spinner, we just can say searching or loading. So what we want to do here is to add a loading piece of state. So I just want to call that one random search loading. And first it's going to be false. But when we make a request here, I want to make it true. So we just say random search loading to true. And if the response is fine and it's okay, we want to make it at the end false again. And while we are having that request, instead of saying this one, I create here, we just say if we have a loading effect, just show loading. Otherwise, just say I'm feeling lucky. So if you try now, we can, we are getting an error. Okay, let's see. So random search loading. So what is the error here? Random search loading is not a function. Okay, that one should be set random search loading, not only that. So here, we're gonna use this function to change this search. Okay, so this is correct. So let's try again. So now we should say get loading. So when we are waiting, we just get loading. Okay, that's working. And another things I want to do when the loading is true, I want to make this button disable. So we make it disable when the random search loading is true. Okay. So in this case, so people cannot click on it when after the first request. We can add more styling for the disabled one. So when it's disabled, we can just change the opacity to 80%. Let's see. Okay. Let's when it's disabled, let's remove the shadow as well. So make a shadow small. Okay. So it looks okay now. Let's see that warning we get here. The console, how we can fix it. So we said image with S with this URL was detected as the largest contentful paint LLP. Please add the priority property if this image is above the fold. So we need to add this priority in this image tag. Image tag is here inside the pages. Okay, let's refresh the page now. And another warning is has either width or firm modified, but not the other. If you use CSS, change the size of the image. Also include the style width auto and height auto to maintain the aspect ratio. So we make the okay. We can fix this one by just adding width auto by adding a style inner style here. So we just say style, and then we just set the width to be auto. Okay, let's close this. Okay, now we are not getting any warning. All right, that was it for creating the body section. Let's add this one to the GitHub. So we add all the changes, and the message for this one is going to be add body section. And we can just commit and push. In the next section, we're going to work on the footer component. So we're going to make it similar to the one in the final version, as you can see from the home page. So this is going to be the footer, and it's always in the bottom of the page. So see you in the next section. All right, in the last section, we have completed the body section of our project. In this section, we're going to work on the footer section. So as you can see from the final version, we have the country that the user is using the website. So we're going to use an API to get the information. And also we have some links here in both sides of the footer. And also this footer is available in all pages. For example, if you go to a page in here, also you can see this footer at the end. So we're going to put this footer in the layout file of our Next.js. So in this case, we can see it in everywhere. So we're going to create a new component for the footer in our Visual Studio Code, and then we're going to add it to our layout.jsx. So let's go to the components folder. Here I'm going to create another folder file called footer.jsx. Let's create a React functional component and add it to our layout.js here. So inside the layout.js, we can just add it after the children. So here, after the children, we're going to add that footer. We're going to import it and use it. Now you can see that we have the footer here, and also if we have different pages, we're going to see it as well. So let's bring this one to the right side so we can work on the footer. So inside the footer.jsx, so here we're going to change this div to footer for having a better SEO. And let's add a class name here. I want to make this one absolute. When you make this one absolute, you can position it whatever you want. I want to position it at the bottom 0. Let's see. Now we have the footer at the end of the page. And what else I want to do is to change the text to be small. Then we want to have a text gray for the color. Then let's change the background color to the hash F2, F2, F2. Okay. So in order to see it, we can just set the width to be full. And inside this footer, we're going to have two divs. One for the country lookup. And as we are changing this country lookup based on the position of the user, we cannot use the server side for this component. It should be client side because it shows the information based on the client. So let's create another component here. We call it country lookup.jsx. So here we just create a React functional component, and then we can add it here inside the footer. Okay, now we should see the country lookup. After this country lookup, we're gonna have another div, which is going to have a UL inside, and here we're gonna have each list. The first one is going to be about. Let's add a class name here. So I want to make this one when we hover over it, we want to have an underline, and also let's make the cursor to be pointer. So we're going to have 3 more lists here. 1, 2, 3. The next one is advertising. Then we have business. Then the last one is going to be how search works. After that, we're going to have another URL on the right side. We can just copy this one. This is going to be 3. So I'm going to delete this. So the first one here is privacy. Then we have terms. And finally, we have setting. So now we want to just design this one. We want to bring them next to each other. So we start from these two UL. They're going to have the same design. So I'm going to use Alt to choose both of them. So add a class name here. We need to make a flex, bring them next to each other, and then use item center to align them. And also we can add a space between them using space X6. For the div that is covering both of them, we're going to make them flex column when they're in the mobile size, they're on top of each other. But in the small size and above, we want to make it flex row. As you can see. Let's make it justify between to add a push them to the sides. Item center to center them. We have a padding in the x-axis of 8 and padding in the y-axis of 3. And then we have a space in the y-axis of 7. In the small size and above, we want to remove this space y. Okay, so this is the way we see it inside the mobile and the larger screen. Now we can work on the country lookup. First thing first, I want to add a border at the bottom. And we have a padding in the x and the y-axis. So as you can see, the country lookup. Okay, looks okay. Let's focus on the country lookup now. We want to use that API. So what we want to do, first thing first, I want to make this one client side because we want to use a piece of state that, and we need to use some hooks. So we need to actually keep this one in the client side. So we're going to create a piece of state here called country. And then the initial value, you can put an empty screen or we just say, for example, United States. Then we want to have a use effect. So first we import the use state here. Then we want to have a use effect. Or we're going to use the use effect to fetch data to get the information. So we're going to get the country. So we want to fetch the data from this API, extreme-ip lookup /JSON. And then we need to actually pass the API key. Otherwise, we're going to get an error. I'll show you how you get your API key. So then we're going to convert the response to JSON and get the data, which is going to be inside the data.country. If there's no response, we're going to return. Otherwise, we want to set this country to that response. And also we want to call that function here. So we need to close this use effect. And we're going to run this use effect only one time. If you check now, here inside this div, we're going to just add that country. As you can see, now I'm getting United States because the API key is not provided. So what we want to do is to search for that API. You just say extreme IP lookup. If you search this one, there is a website with this address, extreme IP lookup. So here you can just use their free package and sign up with your email, name, and etc. Sign up and then get the API key. So I already have that API key. So we want to add it and hide it somewhere inside an environmental variable. So we're going to create a new file here called .env.local. And I want to paste my API key. This is my API key. And also we need to add next public at the beginning because this is a public API. And we just create a name for that. We just call it IP API key. And then we can have access to this API key here by creating a backtick here. And we add a variable. We can just say process.env next public, this one, next public IP API key. And the way that we add the API key is just add a question mark here. So we just add a question mark and then we just say key equals to this. Let me check now. As you can see, now we are getting the country. I'm currently traveling in Cambodia. As you can see, I'm getting Cambodia. If you have problem getting your API key, you can use my API key. It's fine too. So you can just use this API key. I'm okay with that. All right, that's it for creating the footer section of our project. See, just a little bit. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so we can add this one to the GitHub, and we can create a message. We just say add footer component. We can commit and push. So in the next section, we're going to work on creating the pages for web and images. As you can see now, when we click on this button, we don't have this page. This page cannot be found. So I'm going to show you how to create the pages. So see in the next section. All right, in the last section, we have completed the footer section of our project. In this section, we're going to create two pages, the page for web and the page for image. If you look at the final version, you can see that we have a web page, /search/web. And then if you click on images, here we can see that we have another image, another page, /search/image. And this header, you can see here, is common between these two pages. So we need to create a layout for these two pages. And this, if we put that header inside the layout.js, this layout.js, actually we're gonna see that header in all pages, which including the home page. But the home page's header is completely different. So in order to have a unique header for other pages, we need to create a layout.js X for them in a different way. So first, let's create both pages. In order to create pages in Next.js, we need to create a folder with the name of the page we want to create. So they both are search. So we create a folder called search. Sorry, I made a file. Let's delete this. It should be a folder. So this one and called search. And inside this folder, we need to have two folders, one for web, one for search. So we create a folder called web. And also we want to create another folder called image. And that layout.jsx must be in the root of this search folder because we want that layout to include in both places. So inside the search, I'm going to create a file called layout.jsx or js, doesn't matter. So the layout.jsx, we just create a React functional component first. So here we're going to get the children. And then inside this div, we're going to have the children. So the header must be at the top. So if you put the header here, you're going to see it in both pages, the image and web. So let's create a component for the header. So this is going to be search header.jsx. Let's create a React functional component and add it inside this layout.jsx. So search header, we import it at the top. Now we create our pages inside the image and web. So we need to create a file called page.jsx. So this page is for image. So we can call this one image search page. Okay. We make another file inside the web folder called page.jsx. And this is going to be a React functional component. And then we can set the name to search header. The web search page. Web search page. Okay. Let's see what we get. So inside our page, we click on I'm feeling lucky. So now we go to /search/web and the search term. So we have this page, we have the search header. And also if you change this web to image, you can see now we are in the image search page, but still we have the header at the top. The other things we need to do to don't get an error later, we need to add that global.css here. So we can import, we're going to apply a style from the Tailwind CSS. We're going to import. You have to come back and then add that globals. I think it's globals. Where is the file? Okay, so globals.css. So this one is import. I think it's okay now. Okay, now I see that a styling is applied as well. We can test this one. We just go to the image, for example, page. Let's change this color. So make text to be red 500. Okay, you can see that we are using Tailwind CSS now. All right, so that was it for creating the pages. I want to just show you how to make a unique page with the different layout. So we have created a layout.jsx that only covers for these two pages, image and web. So let's add this one to the GitHub and we can keep continue. So the message for this one is going to be create search page for web and image. So we can commit and push. So in the next section, what we want to do is to update the search header component. So we have created this search header component. We want to create it similar to the final version here. So we want to add the logo, add this input, these files, and etc. So see you in the next section. All right, in the last section, we have completed creating the search and the web pages as well as the image page. So in this section, we're going to work on this search header component and make it like the one in the final version. So let's bring this one to the right side and our Visual Studio Code on the left side. Let's close everything first. And then we want to complete that component, which is search header. So first thing first, I want to change this div to header. So what we want to do, as you can see from the final version, I want to keep this one at the top. Even you scroll down, you want to see this header at the top. So in order to do that, we can just simply change the position to be sticky, and then we set it to be top 0. And also we want to change the background color to be white. And after that, we're going to have a div inside here. First, we want to create this logo. So we already have this image. If you remember from the home page, we have created that. So it was inside this page.js. We have this image. Let's copy that image. We want to put it inside a link tag. So when we click on it, we want to go to the home page. So we're going to import link tag from next/link. And this is going to have a href, which is having the target /. Let's close this one first. And then we just paste that image that we have copied. But the size of the image, I want to just make it smaller. Just say 120 for the height. So the width and the height, we set it to be 40. If you refresh the page, we just need to actually import that image from next/image. So now we see the logo here at the top. After the logo, we're going to have a search box. So I want to just create a component for the search box. As you know, the search box, we need to click on it, we need to change. So we are going to use some event listener. So when we use an event listener, we cannot use that component as server side. So we need to make them client side. So we're going to make a separate component for that. I'm going to call it searchbox.jsx. Let's create a React functional component for now. And then here we can just import it. Okay. We want to make this one flex font because I want this inbook, this search box to expand all the way. So I want to change its flex to flex 1. We cannot see the effect now because we have to change the display to flex in this div. We want to set the width to be full, and I want to add a padding of 6, set the items to center, and then I want to make it justify between, so we add a space between them. So after the search box, we're gonna have the same things we have for the home page. We're gonna have similar gear icon, the dot icon, and also a button. But we're gonna see only the button in the small screen. So here I just want to add a div, and inside the div we're gonna add the icons. So let's import the icons at the top first. The first icon is going to be RI setting tree line, which is coming from React icons /RI. And the next one is going to be TB grid dots. So let's use them here. And then after these icons, we want to have that button saying sign in. So we are getting an error. Let's see what the error is about. Unsupported server component. Let's see what we have imported here. That's fine. In the search box, that's okay. Okay, I think I have made a mistake here. This one should be settings. Okay, now it's working. So we need to add some styling to these icons. So I want to use Alt to choose both of them, and then I'll add a class name. So what I want to add here, I just want to make the background color to be transparent. When we hover over it, I want to change the background color to be gray, 200. Let's add a padding of 2. Let's make the size to be 4XL. And then let's make it rounded full and cursor to be pointer, like this. And for bringing them next to each other, we can just inside this div that is covering both of them. First thing first, I want to make them hidden in the mobile size, but in the medium size and above, I want to make them inline flex and add a space between them up to. You can see it like that. For the button, it's similar to the one we use inside the header, the home headers. If you go to the home header, we have used this button, the sign in button. I can just copy that one and paste it here. Okay, so we just need to add some space between them. So this is the final version. What we can do is just add some margin on the left for the button. That is going to be fine. So for the button, we can just add a margin at the left of 2. So now we see the equal space between them. So that's it for creating that one. If I want to complete the search box in the next section, so let's add this one to GitHub with the message. So we can just say update the search header component. You can commit and push. So in the next section, we're going to complete that search box. So see you in the next section. All right, in the last section, we have completed the search header section. In this section, we're going to work on the search box. We're going to complete it, make an input with a form, and we're going to add some on-event listener to track the changes here. And also we want to get the search term from the URL and show it there. In the final version, you can see that this search term, whatever search term we have, even I change this one, for example, to nice, and press enter. After loading, you can see that the nice is here inside the search box. You can delete that by clicking on this cross icon. So let's first add the UI of that search box. So we go to searchbox.jsx and here. So what I want to do here, let's just bring this one to the right side in a way that I can see it. Okay. So here, first thing first, I want to just make this search box a form. Inside the form, we're going to have, as you can see, it's just an input, and then we need to add 3 icons. So first we add the input with a type of text. Then we want to have 3 icons. So let me import the icons. And also if we are adding unchanged event listener, we want to change this one from server side to client side. So the icons I want to import is, first let's import, the first icon is RX cross 2 from React icons /RX. Then we want to import BS fill, mic fill for the microphone. After that, we're going to have an AI outline search for the magnifier. So let's add these icons here. After the input, we're going to have the first icon, which is RX. And then we want to have the BS fill microphone and then AI search. Let's see what we get here. Let's refresh the page. So we see these icons. So for the form, let's add some styling. So we want to make it flex. We want to have a border, and we set the border color to be gray 200. Then we may make it rounded full, shadow large. We want to add a padding in the x-axis, of 6 and in the y-axis of 3. We add a margin in the left for 10. Then we can have a margin on the right side 5, and then we want to have a flex grow. And then maximum width, we want to set it to be 3XL. And then we want to use item center to bring everything to the center. For the input, let's install the input. You can see the input here, but I want to remove that outline and etc. So here we want to set the width to be full. And when we focus on it, when we click on it, we want to make the outline to be none. So we didn't see the outline anymore. Let's style the cross icon. We want to make the text to be 2XL. Change the color to be gray 500. And we set the cursor to be pointer. When we hover over it, we want to see a pointer. And the font size and above, we want to have a margin right of 2. So we're going to have some border. So after that, we want to have that microphone. We want to make it hidden in the small size, but in the small size and above, I want to make it visible by changing its inline to flex. Then we want to have a text 4XL to make it bigger. We want to have the text blue 500 for the color. For the border, we want to set the border left of 2. And then we want to set the color of the border to be gray 300. And finally, we want to have a margin on the right side for 3. So this is for the microphone, and then we want to have some styling for that magnifier. Let's make the text to be 2XL. We make it hidden for the for the mobile size, and then for the above mobile size, we want to make it flex. Change the color to be blue 500 and cursor to be pointer. For the microphone, I want to add some padding in the left for 4. And here, the form, I want to add the item center, but I did item start. This one should be item center. So they make them align here. So now I want to control the input. So I want to have a piece of state for the input. So I want to create a piece of state called, for example, term. And the initial value, as I mentioned before, should be the value that we get from the URL. First, we need to import useState to avoid this error. Then we want to get the initial value from the URL, which we can get by using a method from Next navigation called use search params. And then we can get the search param here. We just say const search params equals to use search params. And then we want to get the search term. So the search term is going to be that search term, and then we want to get this search term from the URL. So we have to write down search term here. So now we get the search term. So we want to say if the search term is available, get it. Otherwise, we want to just make it empty string. So now we want to set the value of the input to that term. As you can see, now we are getting it here. Whatever we write here inside the URL, we get inside this input. And also, when we click on this cross icon, I want to delete that value. So it's very simple to do that. So inside the cross icon, I want to add onClick event listener. And then we just say, when the click happened, then we want to set the term to be an empty string. So now when we click on this, we're going to empty the input. But what if we want to submit the form? When we submit the form, we want to change the search term in the URL. So let's add some onSubmit event listener here, and then we're going to call a function called handle submit. So let's create a function here. So we create a constant called handle submit. First, we want to prevent the default behavior of form submission, which is refreshing the page. Then we want to change the router. So we need to import use router from Next navigation. Okay. And then we need to initialize it here. Here, we want to just push the person to /search /web. And then the search term is going to be that term. So let's try this. So let's clear this. And then we just write, for example, nice here. I cannot write it because we haven't added an unchanged event listener to this input. See here, we're going to add an unchanged event listener, which is going to get the event and then set the term to e.target.value. So we get the value from the input and then set this term to that. So now whatever I type here, it's going to be inside the term piece of state. And then if I press enter, we're going to submit the form, which is going to change this search term here. Okay. And what else we need to do is to, when we click on the magnifier, I want to submit the form too. So here, I want to add an onClick event listener, which is going to call that handle submit function. So whatever I type here now, nice. And then I click here, I can submit the form. It's not working. Let's see. Let's refresh the page. Okay, now it's working. I didn't refresh the page, so now it's nice. Let's change it something else. Okay, you can see that now we are changing the URL. The other things I want to do is to if the input is empty, I want to prevent the submission. So we just say if there's no term or if there is a space, we're going to trim this and then we're going to return. So when the input is empty, we cannot submit the form. All right, that's it for completing the search box. Let's add this one to the GitHub. So the message for this one is going to be complete the search box component. So we can commit and push. In the next section, we're going to work on adding the search header options. So if you look at the final version, we have some options here for all and images. We're going to work on these two components. So see you in the next section. All right, in the last section, we have completed this search box. In this section, we're going to work on these header options. So we're going to have two header options, one for web and one for images. So we're going to have, because it has interactivity, because we are clicking on these options, we cannot make them server side. So they have to be in the client side. So we're going to make a separate component for this section. So here we're going to create a new component. I'm going to call it search header options.jsx. Let's make a React functional component and add it to our search header.jsx. So where the place we want to add them is after this div inside the header. We're going to add that component, search header option. So we should see it now in our application. Let's refresh the page. You can see the search header options. Let's bring this one to the right side and this one to the left side. And let's go back to header options and complete this section. So what we want to do here, first thing first, I want to make this one in the client side. So we're going to add use client here. And then we want to get the path from the URL. We want to know which URL we have. We have a web or image. Based on that, we want to choose that header option. So in order to get that, we need to use a hook from Next navigation called use path name. So I'm going to import use path name from Next navigation. And also we need to we want to change the URL. So we need the use router as well as use search params that we have used before. We need it here too. So we're going to initialize them. Router, we're going to have the search params, and also we're going to have we want to get the search term first. We want to know which search term is there. And also we want to know which path name we have. Is it the web or image? So we're going to initialize the path name. So, and then we want to create a function that is going to redirect the person in that section. So the function, let's call the function, for example, select tab, which is going to get the tab input. So here we're going to push the user. So let me fix this function first. And this is going to be an arrow function. Okay. So we want to push the user to a backtick, which is going to go to /search / it can be web or images. So based on the tab. So we're going to create a variable, and then we just say if the tab is equal to images, then just make it /images or /image. Otherwise, make it /web. And then we want to add the search term at the end. So this is the function that we have. Now we can use the function based on where we click on that options. Let's make these options here. So inside a div, we're going to have another div. We're going to have two divs. One for the all, one for the images. For the first div, so we're going to have an icon. So let's import the icon, which is the icon we want to import is AI online camera. AI outline camera from React icons /AI. And also we want to get that AI outline search, which is the magnifier. So here, the first div is going to have that icon, which is AI magnifier. We want to add the search here. Okay, as you can see now. And after this icon, we want to have a paragraph just saying all. So we want to create the first one first, and then I'm going to copy it to make the second one because they are completely similar. So here, let's add a style here. I want to make the text size to be medium. And then for this div, I want to make it flex to bring the icons next to each other with the text. And then I want to add a space between them of 2. I want to remove the ability to select. So this is going to prevent the select the word all here. Then let's add a border at the bottom. We want to set the width to be full. And then let's make it justify center to align it centrally. But in the large size and above, I want to make the justify a start. Then, and the large size and above, I want to make add a padding in the left side of 52. And then let's make the text to be gray 700. And let's make the size of the text to be small. So this styling, actually, if we want to apply it for both of them, for both of these tabs, all and image. So let's move this actually to the top one. And then for this div, this one should be dynamic because we want to, based on the tab, we want to add some styling. First thing first, I want to add an onClick event listener. So this onClick event listener is going to change call this function, the select tab function. And then we just say select tab. And then what we want to add here as an input is all. Okay, so, but for the next one, we are going to add the images. So this is going to just choose the tab image for us. But for this one, it's going to be web because it's something different. So it can be anything here, actually. So for the styling here, this is going to be dynamic. So I'm going to add a backtick here. First, I want to make the common one that is not depend on the tab. For example, flex, item, center. And then we want to add a space X of 1. So, and then we want to have a border bottom of 4. You can see the border now. And then let's make the border transparent. Transparent for now, but later when we click on it, we want to make that one blue. So when it is active, I want to make the text to be blue 500. Let's make the cursor to be pointer. Let's add a padding in the bottom of 3 and in the axis of x-axis of 2. Now we want to add the dynamic one. So here we just say, we add a condition. We just say if the path name that we are getting from here, the path name, is equal to /search/web, then if this one happened, then make the text to be blue 600 and border to be blue 2. But we want to add a question mark to make this one important. Always after the condition in the styling, add an importance to be sure that this one is applied and replaced with the previous one. So the text is going to be blue, but let's add actually make them inside here. So text blue 600, and also we want to have the border blue 600. So as you can see, now it is selected and with this color. So everything is done for this part. So we can easily now make the images. We can just need to copy this div, put it here, and we just change this tab to images. And what we want to do here is to change this one to image. And as you can see now, it is not selected. The paragraph is going to be images, and the icon is going to be AI camera. Okay, so now we have the tab. If we click on it, as you can see, this one is changed to /search image. And then we have this search term. When we click on all, and also we see that the page is also changed as well. So when we come back to all, we see the changes. So it's working now. So that's it for completing the header section. Let's add this one to the GitHub. And this is going to be, let's add a message for that. The message is going to be complete the header search, or this complete the search header options. Okay, we can now commit and push. So in the next section, what we want to do here is to start getting data from our API. So we're gonna sign up for the Google API, and then we want to get and fetch data from Google Search API and show it inside our pages. So see you in the next section. All right, in the last section, we have completed these header options. In this section, we're going to fetch data from the API and show it inside this page. So first thing first, we need to go to Google Developers to get our API key. So here we just search developers Google. In the search result, we go to developers.google.com. So make sure you're signed in with your correct account. I want to sign in with this account. And then here we can see all the products related to Google. We can see all of them here and search for them. The one I want to use is the search programmable one. So I just search here the word search. So this one I want to use, programmable search engine. Let's explore that, and we can just create a search engine by clicking on this. And then we need to go to using REST, this section. You click here, and here, this is the API route we can use. We need to get our API key and CX. So let me copy this one, and we go back to our Visual Studio Code, and we go to page.jsx inside the web. First, I want to make the web one. So here, I want to create a request for the API. So here we create a response. And this is going to be, if we are using the server-side request, we need to change this function from synchronous to asynchronous. So first we fix this one. And then we're going to have a response with we want to just paste that link that we have. And this is going to be a backtick because we want to have some variable here. The first thing I want to add is API key. So I'm going to copy this API key, the word API key, and then here the key, I want to make a variable here. So this is going to be process.env.api key, and then we need to add it inside the local env.env.local here. So here, let's paste the word API key, and then we need to get the API key from the Google. So here, if you scroll down now, so we can get just the API key here by just clicking on identify your application. So let's click on get a key here. So we need to create a new project. We need to call this one any word except Google. You cannot use the word Google because you're gonna get an error. So I just say go Next.js, and then here we're gonna get our API key. We need to wait a few seconds. Okay, now we can just click on show key and get the API key. We can copy that and go back to Visual Studio Code and paste it here. And the other key we need to get is for this CX. So here I want to create another variable, and we just say process.env. We can just call this one context key, context underline key. So let's copy this word and put it inside the .env, and this is going to be equal to the one we need to get from here. So we are done with this part. So we can come back. We need to get this CX. We need to just go back to our previous page, and then here in the programmable search engine, we need to click on control panel and create a new search engine. I'm just going to we just call it go Next.js, and then we want to search for entire page, and also we want to include the image as well. Then we need to click on I'm not a robot. So we click on create. So now we have our CX. We can just copy this word here, these numbers after CX. And then we go back here and we paste it here. So now we have this API request. We don't want this part, but the query is going to be, so for the query, we need to add an ampersand for the query. So the query is going to search for the word lecture. So let me see it here. So after the response, we're gonna convert this one and get the data. And then the data we get, we wanna just get the results. So we just create a constant called result, which is going to be equal to data.items. And then we wanna show it on the screen. We just say, if the result, we have the result, then we wanna map through the results, get each of them, and then for now, I just wanna show an h1 tag. So we need to actually close the map here. And then here, I just want to show the results, result.title. So let's see in our website. As you can see, we are getting the result for the word queries. This word. The query is lectures. So we got the lectures, but we want to get the search term. Whatever search term we have, we want to search for that. So we can get the search term here. In the server side, we just need to pass the search params here. And this search params gives us that search term. So we're going to we get the search term from that search params. We don't need to get for that. We just say search param dot search term. That's enough. You need to close this. Okay, so now let's search for the word, for example, hello, and we press enter. As you can see, we are getting the result for the word hello. So we get the first 10 results. If I search, for example, for the word nice, I get the result for the nice. All right, in the last section, we have completed fetching data from Google Search API and show the title, as you can see here. In this section, we're going to handle the possible errors. So there are some situations that we don't get a result. For example, if I type something nonsense that doesn't exist, so we're gonna get no result. So we want to show something here that there's no result, for example, from search. So we want to handle this kind of situation. And also, if something happened, for example, the API didn't work or something like that, we want to send an error to. There is a very simple way in Next.js to handle errors. We can just create a file to handle and show any errors that related to a particular page. So we need to go back to Visual Studio Code. We want to create that error file inside the search page. So we want to have that error for both image and web pages. So in order to have that, we want to put it in the parent folder, which is the search folder. So here I want to create a new file and make sure this is outside the other folders. And then we just say error. It should be exactly like that. Error.jsx or error.js. Both are fine. As you can see, it's in the same position as the layout. So after that, first we create a React functional component, and the file is going to be called error with the capital E. And this is going to be in a client side because the error is going to happen there, and we need to use some event listener here as well. So we want to make it client. So what we want to do here, we want to get two things. One is error, and also one is reset. So we want to reset and try to attempt again after an error happened. So here, let's add a use effect. We need to import it from React. So we're gonna have a use effect, but for now, we just want to console log the error. We just say error equals to error. Let's close this. So anytime an error happens, you want to call this use effect. And then here inside the return, we want to have an h1 tag saying something went wrong. So something went wrong here. And then we want to have a button here to reset. So this button is going to say try again. So what I want to do is to create, let's install this letter quick. We just make it flex. We bring them on top of each other by using flex column, using justify center and item center. We align them in the center, and I want to add some padding for the top of 10. For this, something went wrong. Let's make the text to be 3XL and mid margin at the bottom of 4. And for the button, I want to make this with the color of blue 500. So, for example, in our homepage, if the API key is incorrect, you're gonna get an error. For example, here, let's add some X at the end. So let's refresh the page. So actually, let's see, so we are not getting any result, but this error we want to show here. For the error that we have defined in the error.js is the error related to that page. So let me think, how can I put some error here? For example, in the page.jsx, for example, I put this response is coming from here, but imagine we have response X, we have a typo here. So when we have a typo, as you can see, we are getting an error. And we can just click again to try again. So the error, if you remember, we were getting an error, and then we can see the error here as well, which is response X is not defined. Okay, so in this way, this is our page is not gonna break. So in a way that they cannot see the page, at least they see the rest of the page, and then they see that error. So let's fix this one. I want to show you how we get an error related to the API request. So here we are getting the title, but if there is no response at the top, first thing first, when we get the response, I want to say if there is no response, or if the response is not okay, throw an error saying something went wrong. So now, as you can see, we are getting an error, something went wrong, because our API key is incorrect. And imagine the API key is correct, but we are just searching for some word that does not exist. Now we want to show the error here as well. So here inside, before this return, let's create a situation that if there is no result. So we just say if there is no result, we want to return. Let's make some div here. We just create a div. So I think here that was wrong. Here we should add it first, and then we create the return, and then we just created for this return. We just need to have a parenthesis. So we can just create a div like this, and then we're gonna have a h1 tag saying no results find, or something like that. Then we're gonna have, now let's close this div first so we don't get an error. So after this h1 tag, we're gonna create a paragraph, and for the paragraph, let's make the text to be large, and then inside the paragraph, we're gonna say try the web search or image search for something else, and then we're gonna have a link here to the home page, and then we just say home. Let's close this. So I just want to make this link blue, so we just say text blue 500. Okay, so we are getting this one, no result find for this term, and then tries to search something else, and then we can click to go home. Here we can add some space. Okay, so now we can click and come back to the home page. Let's search for something that exists. Okay, if it doesn't exist, for example, some nonsense word, we can get this error. So that was it for creating the error, for handling the possible errors. Let's add this one to the GitHub. So this is going to be with the message handle possible errors, and we can just commit and push. In the next section, we're going to work on creating the search result component. So we want to create this page, this all page. We want to make this component. We want to show the result like this. So see in the next section. All right, in the last section, we have completed handling the errors using the error.jsx file from Next.js. In this section, we're going to work on creating the search result component. First thing first, in order to not exhaust our API key, because the API key is limited, I think for 50 requests an hour or something like that, so you can easily finish your API request from Google. And I just want to make this password wrong again by adding an X here. So this is going to throw an error, but it's fine, because let me just make the code first and then we can test it. So what we want to do here, instead of just showing the title, I want to make a new component, and then I want to add that here and show the result inside the component. So let's create a new component first. So we're going to call this component web search result or result.jsx. Let's create the React functional component. And then we want to add that one here. Instead of h1, I just want to pass this for this component. So the component here is going to be web search results, and we need to import it. We pass this component, and then we need to pass this results there. Or what we can do, instead of mapping here, we can map through the result inside this web search result. So we can completely remove this map. So that's going to be easier actually. So web search results, and then we just need to pass the data. So here we just say, we can just pass the results. We just results equal to that. We can just pass that the data we get here. So we don't need to get that one. And then in the web search results, we can just get the items. So I'm going to delete. Let's see. We need these results here, but here we just want to pass the data. Okay. Now inside the web search result, we can get that data and just we call it results here. And what we want to do here inside this div, let me show you the final version, and based on the final version, we want to work on that. So what we want to do is to show the number of results first, and then the seconds that we can get the results, the amount of time that is needed to get the results. So we get that one as well. And also we want to show each result separately here. So we want to do that one. So I just want to show you here that we have a different size for the result in different page size. So we have in the small screen, then we see a clap here, and then we have a bigger size that everything comes along here. So we can achieve that by just adding a class name here. We just set the width to be full. We want to bring everything to the center using MX Auto. Padding in the x-axis of 3. We want to add a padding at the bottom of 24. The reason I'm adding a padding at the bottom because we have to consider this footer here. So, and then in the small size and above, we want to have a padding in the left size of 5%. We need to do it like this. And the medium size and above, we want a padding in the left side, but this time 14%. As you can see, in a different size, we have different padding in the left side. 5%, and then we have 14%. And then in the largest screen and above, we have padding in the left side, but this time we don't need to make a percentage, we just say 52. So that is for making it aligned. And then in this paragraph, we want to say about. So if you remember, I said we want to show the number of results and then the second. So here we're going to say about result.search information if it exists. And then we want to get the formatted total results. And then we just say results.search information, but this time formatted search time. And then based on the seconds, we want to show that. So let's start this real quick. So I just want to make the text to be gray 600. And then we make the text to be a small. We add a margin at the bottom of 5 and margin at the top of 3. So this is for the paragraph. Now we want to show the results item. So here we just say whatever result item we have, we want to map through it and get each result. Okay, let's see. So here we want to have a div, and inside this div we're going to first thing first, whatever when you add a map, you need to add a key here. So we just add a key, and the key is going to be result is something unique. We just say, because the link is unique, we just say result.link as the key. And then here, I just want to add margin bottom of 8. And also I want to make the maximum width to be XL. And then as you can see from the final version, when we hover over this link or here, we're going to see a underline here. In order to achieve that, we need to put both of these things in a div and then make that div as a group. And then when we hover over the group, we can have an underline on this. So here, we're going to have another div, and then we make this one group. And also we want to make it flex with a flex column because we want them to be on top of each other. Then we want to have link tag from Next.js, which is going to go to, first one is going to be result.link. And then here we want to show that result.formatted URL. So it should be like, because this is a formatted URL. The real URL is different, but the formatted URL is something else. So you want to show the formatted URL there. And then after that, we want to see, let's add another link tag. And this is going to be that result.title. But as I mentioned before, when we hover over the group, we want to have an underline for that. So we just say group dash hover, and then we want to have underline here. And also we want to make the decoration color to be blue 800, this color. And then let's make the text to be X large. And what else we need here? We want to truncate it. What I mean by truncate is this 3 dots. So when we have a longer title than the screen, we want to have the ... And then let's make the font to be medium. And then let's make the text to be blue as well, not only decoration. So just say decoration is the underline color, as you can see here. Okay, so after the title, we want to see this, we just call it HTML snippet. So we want to see this exclamation of the website. But as you can see, the exclamation sometimes has a bold thing. So if I want to show the boldness, I cannot see it because they're going to add some like a tag, like a B tag for the boldness and etc. Or sometimes they want to use the italic tag. So in order to see those things in the result, we need to install another package to be able to do that. So the package is called HTML React Parcel. So we need to install it here. We just say npm install. Make sure you are inside this folder. You just say HTML-React-Parcel. So once you install that, after these links and outside this div, we're going to have a paragraph. And inside the paragraph, we're going to parse that result. We just say use parser. We need to import it at the top. So we're going to import parser from HTML React parser. And then we want to parser that result. We just say, we add a parenthesis here, and then we just say result dot HTML. So this is the things we get from the Google HTML snippet. And then we want to parse it there. And also we want to add some styling here, which is text gray 600. So now in order to see our website, we need to first, we want to fix this API key. I just removed this X. And then here, for now, we don't see any results. So let me just search something that exists. We are getting an error. Let's see the error. Okay, so href. Okay, I think I used href somewhere, but I didn't add a link for that. So the second href, I didn't add any link. So this one is going to be similar to the one at the top. This is going to be result.link. Okay, let's try again. Let's refresh the page. Okay, now we see the results. But as you can see, there is a problem here because the footer is in the middle. So what we can do to fix it is to go to the layout that we have created for the application. So the root layout, which is inside the src, let's close everything. No, sorry, the layout that is inside the app directory here. What we want to do here, we want to add, because this footer actually in the absolute position, but it's not absolute depending on the body. So we want to add here inside the layout in this body. I just remove this actually class name here. We don't need it. Actually, we don't need this. And here we want to add that relative here. And then we want to set the minimum height to be a screen. So now as you can see, when we have a bigger screen, something that is bigger, we have more result. We see the footer always at the end. So even we don't have any like big result like this, we have only one screen, we see it like that. Okay, so that was it for showing the result. Let me search for something else. For example, hello. As you can see, we got about the results and also these things here. And also the parcel is going to show this boldness for us. So let's add this one to the GitHub and then we can move on to the next section. So let's add everything and then we want to create a message called create search result component. And we can just commit and push. In the next section, we're going to work on the image results. As you can see from the final version, for any results, we're going to have the image as well. So it's going to be completely similar. We're going to have a component for the images. We get the results and show it there. So see you in the next section. All right, in the last section, we have completed and created the search result component. In this section, we're going to add the image results. So now if you go to image, we just see this page. We're going to complete this page as well. So the API request and everything else is very similar. So let's close everything. I'm going to show you. So now we have completed one page inside the search for web. This page, it has an API request. We handle the error and then we just, if there's no result, we show this one and also we pass this one. So the pages are going to be exactly the same, this page and the page inside the image. So we can just copy whatever we have here and then we paste it inside this. We just change the name of this one to image search page. And then the API request is going to be different because we want to add the search type here. So let me just add that X here so we don't exhaust our API request. And then I want to fix this one. So at the end, when we search for the search term and etc., what we want to do is to add something here after this. We just say end, and then we just say search type is going to be image, like that. So in this way, we're going to search for the image. And then we want to create another component for the image search result. So here, inside the components, I want to create another component and I just call it image search, image search results.jsx. So this is going to be different. So we're going to create a React functional component for that first. And then here, I want to change this one to image search result. And then we need to import it at the top. So I'm going to completely change this web to image. Okay. So let's see what we get now. We get something went wrong because we have put actually the result. If you remember, we have just added an X for the API request. So we are getting an error. But just imagine the API key is correct. And then we should get the result here. But if an error happens, for example, we search something that doesn't exist, we get the same error. No result found for this term. Try searching the web or images for something else. This is for all, and then for the image, we get the same result. So now let's just complete the image page. Let me add an X here so we don't exhaust the API request. And then I go to image result, bring it here. I want to just show you the final version. So as you can see, we have one column in the mobile screen, and then we have 2, 3, and then 4. So we're going to achieve that using grid system. So first thing first, in the div that is covering everything, I just want to add some padding at the bottom of 24 for covering the footer, and then we're gonna have a margin at the top of 4. Then in this div, we're gonna create the grid system. We just say make it grid, and then in the mobile size, make it grid column. Just use one column. In the small size and above, after the mobile size, make the grid columns to be 2. Then we have the largest screen, make the grid color columns to be 3, and then X large, make the grid to be 4. We make a padding in the X axis of 3, and also we want to add a space between them of 4. Now that the columns are ready, we can just get the results here and then show it by just using the map through the items. And then let's close this. Here we're going to have a div. This div is going to have a key, and the key is going to be the result.link, which is something unique. And here I want to just add a margin at the bottom of 8. So after that, if you look at the final version, wherever I hover, you see the underline here. Underline, and also we have a shadow effect. So we want to make the same system. We want to make a group, and then using that group, we can add the hover effect for everything else. So here, we want to add a div with a class of group. And then inside this div, we're going to have a link tag from next/link, which is going to go to, we want to go to the image context link. So in the result, we just say result.image.context link should be camel case. Let's close this link. And then inside the link, we're going to have that image. We just want to have an image. And then the source is going to be result.link. And then the alternative, we can just use result.title. We want to style this image as well. We just add a class name. We want to set the height to be 60. When we group hover over it means when we hover over that div, we want to add a shadow of large or X large. Let's choose X large. And then we want to set the width to be full. And then we want to make it object contain, which is going to keep the aspect ratio. And then we want to make a transition on the shadow. Okay, we can add a duration as well. That's fine. So after the image, outside this link, we're going to have another link, but we just want to see the title. So the link is going to be similar. I just want to copy this link. I just copy it 2 times because we need it for both of them. So for the second one, I just delete this image, and inside this image, instead of this image, we're going to have a h2 tag saying result.title. But let's add some style for that one. So when we group hover it, we just say group hover. What we want to do here, we want to add an underline. And also we want to truncate. If we have a more than the size of the page, we want to truncate it like here. And then what else we want to add is we want to set the text to be X large. For the other one, we can just copy this H2 again, put it here, but instead of H2, I want it to be a paragraph. And this one, instead of title, is going to be display link, like this. And then we want to have an underline, but I don't want to make it X large. Instead, I want to make the color to be gray 600. So that's it for this section. Let's remove that X from here so we can see the result for ourselves. Let's search something like nice. We go to image. Now we can see the images. As you can see, when we hover over it, we see the shadow and also the underline. And also we have different column size. It seems like this one is not, padding 24 is not enough. But we're going to fix it when we have the pagination buttons later. When we have pagination, I'm going to add more padding to cover the pagination as well. So let's add this one to the GitHub. So the message is going to be, you can just say, for example, add image results and commit and push. In the next section, we're going to work on the pagination component. So we're going to have it something similar to the final version. We're going to have a next button, which is going to go to the next results. When we click on next, as you can see, the URL, now the start is 11. We have added a new query called start, and then we have 11. And then after that, we have a previous button as well. And then also we can go up to 100 results. So see in the next section for getting and adding the pagination components. All right, in the last section, we have completed adding the images into our results. In this section, we're going to work on the pagination. We want to add 2 buttons here, which is going to go to the next and the previous pages and show different results for us. So what we need to do is to do some modification to our API request. And then we want to add that a start point as well. So we need to do it in both pages, the page is related to the web and also the image. So here at the end, we just add an and sign, and then we just say a start equals to that search params dot a start. But maybe we don't have that one. So what we want to do here, let me just add a variable here instead. We just say a start index, and then we just say this one is going to be search params dot a start, or if it's not available, we just want to set it to be 1, and it should be a string. And then here we just add that a start index. We can do the same things for the web page. So for the web page, we want to have this at the top, and also we want to add that and a start index. So let me try now. So now we get the result for the word nice here. If I add that and here with the start, for example, 11, as you can see, we are getting different result now. So what we want to do is to actually change this URL by adding 2 buttons here. And once we click on them, we can change these URLs. So in our Visual Studio Code, I want to add a component, a new component called pagination buttons. So inside the components, let's create a new one. I just want to call it pagination buttons.jsx. And let's create a React functional component. And then we want to add that one inside our image and web results. So let's go to the web one first. Not here, actually. We need to add it to the component, web search result component. So at the end, just before this div, we're going to add that pagination buttons. We need to import it. And for the image search results, we can add it as well. The way we add it is a bit different because I want to add some margin in the left side as well. So here inside this, before this div, I want to add another div, and then I want to add a margin left of 16. And then here I want to add that pagination buttons. So we need to import them as well. So now it's okay. Now we can search, we can see, okay, we see the pagination buttons, but in the smaller screen, we don't see it because we don't have enough padding at the bottom. So I want to say, make the padding at the bottom of 24 for only a small size and above. And then we want to add a padding at the bottom of 40 for the mobile size. So this one is for image. For the web, I want to do the same thing. So instead of only padding at the bottom of 24, we want to replace it with this one. Now we can see the pagination buttons in both all and images. Okay, so now we are ready to create this pagination. So let's bring this one to the left side. First thing first, I want to make this one in the client side because we need to add some on-click event listener. So here, and then I want to get the parameters from the URL. Because this is a client side, we need to import, let's import use path name from Next navigation. And also we want to add that use search params. So let me actually just go to that image page. I want to just add this X to first thing first. I don't want to exhaust the API request. So let's do everything first, and then when we are working on that, we can remove that. So here, I want to get the path name. Path name is going to be that use path name, and then we want to get the search params. Then from these things, we want to get the search term and a start index. So we create a constant, and then I just call it search term. And this is going to be equal to the search params. We can get the search term from the URL, and then we can get the start index as well. But if the start index is not available, we want to get 1. But here we need the number because actually we want to calculate the start index and then show the buttons or not. For example, here we have the next and previous. We want to know if we are more than 10, we want to show the previous, otherwise we don't want to show it. So we need to convert this one to number to calculate that. So I add a plus here to convert that one to number, and this one is going to be 1. Okay, and then after that, so now we have these things. We can just here, let's first style this. I want to make this one blue. The buttons, I want to make them blue. And then blue with a blue 700. And then after that, let's make it flex with a padding in the x-axis of 10, padding in the bottom of 4, and then justify between to be add a space between them. But in the small size and above, we want to make it justify a start. So now they are in the middle, but in the larger screen, we want to bring them at the start. What else we want to add is in the small size and above, I want to add a space between them. Let's add a space of, for example, 44. And then a small size and above, let's add a padding in the x-axis of 0. So now we have this div. We want to make a condition. If the start index, now we know why we add the number. If this one is more than 10, we want to see that previous button. So let's close this. And then here, we want to have a link tag first from next link. And this is going to go, we want to have a href, but this is going to be dynamic. So we need to add a backtick here. So this is going to go to the path name. So we add a variable here called path name. Sorry, variable should be a $sign. So we get the path name at the top. So we just say we just say path name, and then we add a query. The path name is going to be like this. /search/image or /search/web. So we have the path name. After that, we're going to have our search query. So we just say search term is going to be that this variable. So we are getting here search term. And then after that, we're going to have the start point. So we just say start equals to $. We want to have the start index. We want to decrease that one by 10. So when we click on the previous button here, we want to decrease that start number by 10. So we're going to go to the previous 10 results. And then inside this link, we're going to have that icon, the arrow, left arrow icon plus this previous. So we need to import that icon. Import the icon name is BS chevron. Yes, chevron left like this from React icons /BS, and then also we want to add that BS right icon. We need that one as well. This is going to be right. So let's use this one here inside this link. So we're going to have a div, and then inside the div, we're going to have the chevron left. Height is going to be 5 for the icon, and also in the paragraph, we're going to say previous. So we want to bring them next to each other with flex, and then flex column. We want to bring them on top of each other, actually, like this. And then we can use item center, and then cursor to be pointer. That's okay. And then when we hover over it, actually, we don't need cursor pointer because we are using link. This is going to automatically add that. And when we hover over it, we want to have an underline. Okay. Let's see what we get. First, we need to fix that, remove that X. Okay. We don't see it yet. Let's see. Okay, let's see the problem here. Okay, because the index is not more than 10. So here I want to add the index. So we just say and start, for example, 11. Now we should see that previous one. So if I click on the previous one, we can decrease it by 10. So when I click on previous, it goes to start 1 again. And then we don't see the icon because here we have a condition. So we only see that button when we have index more than 10. So what else I want to add is the same things for the next one. So we can just copy this one. And then here is going to be less than or equal to 90 because I want to make it until 100. And then here we want to just change the start index. This time we want to add 10 instead of removing 10. Then the icon is going to be chevron right. And then the text is going to be next. So I think it's going to work. So let's see. Now we have the next. If we click on next, we go to start 11 and also we see the previous button. We can keep continue. If we keep going to, we reach the 91, we shouldn't see that next again. Okay. Now we are at start 91. We don't see the next button, so we cannot go further than that. We only have the previous button. So after clicking on previous, we see this next as well. All right, that was it for adding the pagination. Let's add this one to the GitHub. So this is going to be with the message add pagination. And we just say add pagination component. And then we can just commit and push. In the next section, we're going to work on the loading effect. I'm going to show you how to add loading effect in Next.js. So you should see the loading effect for the web and also for the image. So this is going to be 2 different loading effects for our website. So see you in the next section. All right, in the last section, we have completed the pagination. In this section, I want to add that loading effect. So in order to see the loading effect, I want to just add some promise here. And what I mean by promise is I want to wait for the result to see that loading, for example, inside the web, page.jsx inside the web folder. Before this one, I want to add some waiting. We just say await as you get this from suggestion. I want to make a new promise, which is going to be resolved after this is 1 second. For example, I want to make it 10 seconds. And then if you go to the web now, after 10 seconds, we get the result. For example, if I change this one to hello, we don't see any loading effect, but we have to wait 10 seconds. So in order to add a loading effect inside the Next.js, we can just simply add a file called loading.jsx inside the website, that page that we want to have. For example, if we go to, for the web, we can just add a new file here next to the page.jsx called loading.jsx. So if you have a React functional component with the name loading, now we should see that loading is going to be here for 10 seconds, and then we see the results. This 10 second is coming from this 10 second that we have added. Okay, so let's bring this one to the right side, and then we just go to the loading.jsx, and then we want to add that a skeleton loading effect, which is not very difficult to do because a skeleton, if you look at the final version, a skeleton is just a div, an empty div with the fading color. So here for the web, let's make this one an empty fragment. And then what I want to add here is to create a div, and then inside this div, we're going to have 4 divs. So the first div is going to be with the height of 2.5 and then width of 48. So this div is going to be like that, and then we want to have a color for that. So we can see it. We just say background color to be gray 200. So if we refresh the page, we should see this div with this color. Okay, so we want to make this one also rounded, full, and with the add a margin at the bottom of 2.5. So this is for the first div, and then we're gonna have 3 more divs. I'm gonna copy this one 3 more times, but with a different height. For the second one, I want to have a height of 3.5, and then the width is going to be different for each of them. For example, for the second one, I want to have 360 pixels. For the third one, I want to have 560, and for the last one, I want to have 530. So we're gonna have a different shade effects. So let's see what we get. Now, as you can see, we are getting this one. So now we just want to add some style here. I want to have so we have this margin at x of 2, padding at the top of 10, and then we want to set the maximum width to be 6 XL. In the large screen and above, I want to have a padding in the left of 52. And also we want to animate this one. We just say animate pulse. So if you refresh page, now we can see it's animated. And in the bigger screen, we see different things. And let's just make this one more. I just want to copy this one 2 more times. So now we should see 3 on top of each other. I think that's enough for the web section. We can just remove this promise here. I can just leave it there so you can have a kind of reference. I just make it 1 second here. And for the image, let's add the same promise. So we can see the loading effect. Let's make it 10 seconds. And then we just go to images. But now we don't have a loading for that one. So what I want to do is to add the same system for the loading effect for the image. So we just go to image, and then we create a file called loading.jsx. Let's create a React functional component. Now we should see the loading here. So inside this one, I want to have If you look at the final version in the image, we have 1 for the mobile, but for the bigger size, we have 4. So let me show it again. So we have 3, and then in the mobile size, we only have 1. So we're gonna hidden the rest. So here we're gonna have a div. We just add animate pulse for this div, and then inside this, we're going to have, let me show it here. So we're gonna have first div with the height of 48. For the image, we're gonna have a height of 48 with a width of 48 as well. We're gonna have a margin at the bottom of 4. Background is going to be gray, 200, and then let's make it rounded medium. So that's for the image. For the others, I want to have a 2 text as well, but the height is going to be only 2 for this one, and then the width is fine. We can just keep it like that, but the margin bottom is going to be 2.5, and this one too. This is going to be 2.5. Let's see what we get. We can get it here. Now, but for the other images, I want to have a div, but this div is going to be hidden in the mobile size, but in the small size and above, we want to make it inline flex, so we can see them here, there. And also in the small size and above, we want to have a space between them of 4. And inside this div, we're going to have 2 image like that. So just want to copy this one and then put it inside here. One time, and then one more. Let's see what we have here. So this div is going to cover all of them. Oh, sorry, we have to copy all these things from the anime, all of them. I'm just gonna copy and paste it here 2 times. So in this big screen, when we refresh the page, now we see it like that, but we can fix this one by just in the div that is covering all of them, we can add a class name. We add a padding at the top of 10. Then we want to have a mx2 margin in the x-axis of 2, and in the larger screen and above, we want to have a padding in the left side of 52. We want to have a maximum width of 6xl. Let's make it flex so they come next to each other, and also in the small screen and above, let's add a space between them of 4. We want to bring them on top of each other in the mobile screen. We just say a flex column. Sorry, in the small. Okay, this is for the mobile size. For the small size and above, I want to make it flex column. And finally, we want to have a margin at the bottom of 42 to cover that footer as well. Let's see what we get. Okay, seems like it has some problem now. Still, let's see it in the small screen. In the small screen is fine, but in the large screen, it looks kind of weird. Let me check. Let's make this one bigger so I can see it better. So this div is covering these 3, and then this div is going to cover these 2 here. Okay, here I made a mistake. It should be column row, flex row in the small size and above. So now we can see they are next to each other. Okay, so I think that's okay for the loading effect. So I want to remove that promise. Just make it 1 second. All right, that was it for adding the loading effect. Let's add this one to the GitHub. So this is going to be with the message add loading effects for web and image pages. We can just commit and push. So in the next section, actually, we're going to deploy our application. So see you in the next section. All right, in the last section, we have completed our project by adding the loading effect. In this section, we're going to deploy our application to Vercel. So what we want to do here, we're going to search for Vercel, and you just need to sign in with your Vercel.com account. If you're signed in with your account, let's just sign in with one of your Gmail account. You don't need to pay or add your credit card. It's totally free to deploy your application. And you just need to click here on add new and click on project. Here you can just, if you add your GitHub repository, you can just need to add your GitHub repository. You can see all your GitHub repositories here. And then the GitHub I want to add is this one that we are working, Google Next. So as you can see, the last commit is add loading effects for web and image pages. So it's completely ready to be deployed. So we can just import it from here. When you click on import, we get the project name. I just call it Google Next. The framework is Next.js. We want to use the root directory. Now we want to add the environmental variables. The environmental variables is inside your .env.local file. You just need to copy that and add it here. Let me just add them real quick. So this is the first one. The next one is going to be the API key. So, and then the last one is context key. Okay, so this is the last one. And then now we can just click on deploy. So this is going to take a few minutes. And I think mostly it takes less than 1 minute for me if there's no error. So now it's building our application. As you can see, it's running the Vercel build and etc. and creating our production build. So we need to wait a few more seconds to finish it. Okay, now it's completed. So as you can see, we got the congratulations alert, and here, this is our application. We can just click on it and see it on the line. And also they made a URL for us, Google next9.vercel.app. As you can see, it's working. The API is working here. Also, let's test this one. For example, I search nice. So as you can see, the loading is working. We get the search term. Let's search for images. Okay, the loading effect is working for the image. The pagination is working as well. Okay. You have the ability to change your domain. For example, here in the domain section, if you click, you can modify this domain. For example, you can change it. I can just say Google Next. You have to see if it's available or not. That is not a valid configuration. Let's copy this one back. Okay, Google Next 9. Let's see if we remove the 9, it works still or not. You just need to keep the Vercel.app at the end. Okay, this one is not fully qualified. Let's try again. It's already exists. So that's fine. You need to try, for example, this one. I just say V3. Let's see. Okay, now this one is available. So you can test different domain name, and then the one that suits you, you can just choose it. All right, that was it for our project. I hope you enjoyed and learned many things. Let me know your opinion about the project and give me some feedback. So see you in the next project.